Yes, Chair.
Okay, so I think we should start. It's already like 7:04.
Yes,
Okay,
Chair.
so good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me in my section. So I think you have already seen my the title of my presentation, and here is the title of my presentation. So civic education in the English language classroom. So by the title, there are two parts: civic education and the English language classroom. So what is civic education exactly? So for me, for my personal understanding of the civic education is the education approaches or educational approaches to not just student with the civic knowledge, civic case, and the civic value. So again, what are these things? So actually, by the different social, political, and the cultural background of each and individual country, uh, different countries have the different definition of what is civic education and what are the components in there. So in general or in a nutshell, civic education, my understanding of civic education is by the civic education, student will have the civic knowledge. That is uh, knowledge about knowing what mean here, the what social, what political, and what cultural issue, challenges, opportunities are there for them in their own context. And the civil skill that is knowing about how to practice these knowledge in their own particular context. I mean, effectively. And a civil value that is having the right attitudes or having the right way of practices and valuing those practices are in maintaining these values in at all time. So these are in general my general discussion of the what is civic education and what are the components in there. So and if you there are a lot of theory behind the civic education. So the theory used in the global north and the theory used in the global south. But my discussion is based on the four conception of the civic education. So by this four conception, I put these conception in the on the X and Y axis. So you can see that in each quadrant, there are four different types of civic education. One is a liberal civic education, and then two, diversity, and three is a critical, and four is a Republican civic education. So these are on the X and Y axis. So if you look at the Y axis, on the upper top of the Y axis is the procedural political knowledge. So what is it exactly? So this is knowledge about or knowing about the institution or the rules and regulation of the country or the governance. So which means like, for example, just for an example, is like knowing about the voting system and voter education. So these will be about the political knowledge, procedural political knowledge. So on the other end of the y-axis is the substantive political knowledge. So what is it? This is about the fundamental principle on which one country exists, a country or the state exists. So that is like what economic structure or what cultural foundation are particularly important for each and individual country. So this is about the substantive like political knowledge. So by these educational type, these political knowledge and these two different types of political knowledge are like a kind of input. So when you look at again to the exit, you can see that on the left far end is the individualistic normative values. So by this educational process, individual, because the name for name's sake is individualistic. So the place of the individual in a social setting or social society is emphasized as important than the communal values. So the communal value is on the other end, on the exit, is a communal normative value. So in that in that process, the communal meaning or community is more important than the individual, and the individual affiliation to the society is very much valued and very much important. So my discussion is my idea of the discussion is based on these four theoretical framework. So this is in the on the actually is about the theoretical, and because of that theory, we can see there are four different types of civil education, and each type of the educational process have their own main goals. So I think I don't need to read up all the things, but if you look at the too far end, liberal and the Republican, liberal is at the upper end, is the student will develop the individualistic case, and but on the lower end of the y-axis is about the Republican civic education. So in that process, the feeling of belonging to the community or to the society is important, and the value is on the solidarity, and the value is on the national entity, or maybe sometimes it's into the nationalism. Okay, so these are on the global level. So what about in Myanmar? So the question is, do we have civic education? The question is, do we have, and do we have the civic education? So the answer is yes. Yes, if you look at the year 1942, so it's a colonial time. So the civic education was implemented and then delivered in the national school. So because of the era, it's a colonial period, and then it is delivered in the national school. So the content of the civic education, I mean the subject or maybe the civic itself will be emphasized on the national entity. So maybe presumably it's into the Republican civic education type, and probably also into the critical civic education. And again, the next era is the 50s and the early 1962 era. So at different level of the K-12 system, primary and the middle school and also in the high school, civic education was like introduced. If you look at the document of the CID Uba Pay, he's the ex rector of the Teacher Education College, and then he developed the two volumes. The one is for the primary and the middle school, and the volume two is for the secondary. So you can have these documents actually as a references of like how Myanmar implement the civic education in the government school. So, and then after that is about the 1962 infamous military coup time. So after the 1962, civic education was disappeared. It was excluded from the school system. I mean the public school system. So what about now? Do we have the civic education? Yes, we have civic education. The civic education is reintroduced as a moral and civic, together with the K-12 curriculum reform started in the 1960, not 2060 to 2017. So the answer is yes, we did have, and we are now having the civic education in the public government schools. So 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 this is about the local level. Okay, we are discussing about the global level and the local level. So all in all, what is exactly civic education in the 21st century? So in the 21st century, these are the civic case, civic knowledge, civic case, and the civic values that we are looking for. So knowledge actually is like we can transfer the knowledge, but to develop the knowledge into the scale of practicing, it's about the connective and the non-connective scale. So the question is whether our classroom, this is a question of whether or to what extent Myanmar can foster the students these knowledge skills and the value in the classroom. So this is the first question. And another question is, especially like these civic skills, is about promoting these two types of the cognitive and then cognitive skills, like for example, like about the reasoning skills, or maybe the decision making or the leadership skill. These are related to the cognitive skill. And the non-cognitive skill is mostly about the motivation. It's about the interpersonal interaction or interpersonal development. So it's basically based on the active listening, how to make the effective communication skill in the classroom. So whether the big question is, can we develop these skills in our classroom, either through civic education or either through language classes? So this is my question. So to be able to answer these questions, I think we need to understand about the realities in our Myanmar context. Okay, the two reality is like the roles of the teacher and the roles of the parents. So these are the stakeholder. And another reality is the existence of the current assessment system. So because these two areas intersect with the another big fat reality, that is the existence of the legacy of the rote learning or memorization. So to be able to answer my question to myself, we have to understand and we have to aware of the existence of these realities. So the two rationale. Okay, why in Myanmar legacy or rote learning is still live long in our Myanmar education process. So this is my rationale. So the first rationale is the existing matriculation exam. Yes, now the exam system and the assessment system is now in the reform process. Yes, but up to date, to date means currently, the exam system still decides the future direction of the student's life and the career. So the result of these exam systems and the rote learnings are very much intertwined, and it's very difficult to separate the two of the things. And another thing is about the context area. Not many subjects favor subject mean here mean and other subject areas not favor the spaces, and we don't have spaces to foster the students to analyze the logic of the content. Okay, so there is no space at all to think about whether logically whether the content is relevant, the relevancy of the content, and how we discuss about the content. So these things are totally like neglected, and then instead of that, the teacher attempt to spoon feed the whole content for the students. So that kind of we call it as a kind of the teacher mentally chew up everything for the student. Actually, it's very popular in the state, and then it's very much appreciated and welcomed by the majority of the parents. Because of the parents, that's why the generation of teacher also well preserve that teaching approach in Myanmar context. So this is the first rationale. And the second rationale is the approach is used by the authoritarianism in the classroom as a kind of the discourse or as a kind of narrative of maintaining the tradition in school context and a school life and a school structure. So because of this type of discourse, so the function and the roles of the teacher in the classroom is as a kind of actor to construct the dehumanization in the classroom. It's all about actually the famous the pedagogy or oppress actually. So because of these two rationale and the realities are the things we have to be aware, and we need to consider whether the civic education implementation in our classroom. So I informally discussed with some of the teachers, especially not in the major city. The teachers are not from the major city, especially in the rural area, especially in the mid region of Myanmar. So only a few. This is based on my small scale research. So only a very few percentage of the both parties, here mean like parents and the teachers, they realize that this kind of exam system and this types of the teaching approach, the rote learning teaching approach, is promising for the 21st century's case. But these cases are also the promising for the 21st century employment. But on the other hand, actually, the currently reform the policy in the national assessment policy actually recognize the importance of those 21st century skills is needed in the student. So the assessment in the classroom level, the assessment in the school level, assessment, the peer assessment of the formative assessment, some such things are actually looking for those skills area. So these are the realities happening in Myanmar context. So this is the national assessment policy is from the policy context area, and the other are the policy actors and the policy beneficiary, the context. But we have to understand about these reality. And so this is this is the first part of the civic education and the global and the Myanmar context. And another another part of my title is about the functional and roles of the English language class. Actually, it's about the language study here. I mean, it's the English language. studies in the assessment system. It's currently existing assessment system. So what is the language? Why are we learning language? It's not just to pass the exam and not to just to have the good grade and good marks in the exam, because language study have its own value. Because like from the and by using the value and by understanding this value, actually the student can escape from the memorization technique is so much addictive and everybody love that, and parents love that, teacher love that, but they can somehow escape from that approach and that technique, and they can have the critical skill. So the question is what kind of virtue? Because language itself is like what? Language is individual student can transmit actually their everyday life experience from the language, even in the very strict exam marking system. Because like even through their exam system, they can still transmit their own feeling, their own personal life through language. And then this is next is about the, like for example, a part of the current existing exam question type, some of the question component like essay and letter in the English language, and also the prose and the essay writing in the Burmese, still have the same spaces, both for the teacher and both for the student. Because like teacher, for these two question part, the teacher can still practice the subjective marking scheme. So actually the teachers can have the chance to appreciate the students delivery of the his or her life through the language. And from the student side, student can express their experiences and insight. The experience and the insights are resulting from their life process, the lifelong process, the whole of their life process, through their own self-reasoning and the self questioning even within the question set, they can stay communicated to the to the examiner, or maybe to the marking scheme user. So, and they can also within the question set, they can stay also develop the hypothetical question if they want to use the if pattern usage or structure in their own writing, in their own essay writing, they can still make it. So in that way, the language is the kind of the space for the individual students to relate with their own life, related with their own civic knowledge and civic skills through in their language exam system. So so the question is like language studies integrating to the civic education, or civic education integrating to the language study possible? So this is the question. So to be able to answer the questions, first we have to aware of the main challenges. Actually, I have already discussed a little bit. The first is about the stakeholder perception of the civic education, because most of the civic education, most of the people like teachers' perspective is conflicted with the local needy. And then very few people can differentiate these two things, because like when we are translating the civic education into Burmese, it's becoming like a kind of the people needy. And then people are like kind of misunderstood is as a kind of the same as the local needy. And then some of the students that I've been talking with, like they said that, oh, is it the same as the local needy? And it's about the the etiquette of the moral obligation of the civils to follow. So it's like that kind of conflict happening in the stakeholder. So this is about the mentality. And next is about the not having right resource persons. So when we are implementing or when delivering the civic this content, either in any subject or like particularly specifically to the civic education, under the civic education, do we have the right resource person? So this is about the content and the instructional competency. And next is about the content, totally about the content area. So when I discuss with some of the teachers, like they ask what sometimes like some teachers that they interested to deliver, or they interested to like having the class like civic education class. But the question is that what do we need to teach in there? Like if we are running our own civic education training or the program. So the thing is like not realizing about the civic education as a kind of interdisciplinary course. So the content. So that the challenge is about the content. So people don't have enough. I mean, they are not very much positive about or have I don't know how to say that. Like kind of the inspiration of finding, what kind of topic will be in their program. And next is about the stakeholders. So this is about the policymakers, between the policymaker, policy actor, and the policy beneficiary group. So the thing is like whether these stakeholders really have the strong chemistry with the civic education. Do they really understand the needs of the civic education in the context like Myanmar? And then do they really have a kind of passion in the civic education and about the competency, also about the competency in the civic education? So if we can, so the, like for example, I'm talking about these things because like, for example, like if we take in the currently using grade 11 English language test, it's in a unit 40, it's a Helen Keller. So if we take, I have the privilege to observe some of the classroom teaching that Helen Keller. I mean, in the private education or in the public education. So somehow what I noticed is not all, but like mostly the teaching is focusing on the vocabulary and the grammar and the structure of these things. But even if that text is taken from the civic education lens, this is the area that we can talk about the human rights, okay? Because it is about the right to education. It is about the child rights, okay? And then this is also about the rights of the disabled to have the rights to education. So this is, we just need to just change our lens and to take the civic education perspective to even to look at the existing English language text in the textbook, okay? And then this is also about the government. If we are taking as a school as an institution, if we are taking the university as an institution, this is about the institution, whether our educational institution have the system that guarantee every student, every child to access the education, especially for that kind of vulnerable groups, like that kind of vulnerable children. So what we need is just to take and look at and taking as from the civic education lens to the current existing some of the content in the English language text and then also in the Burmese. There are a lot of, I mean, the area that we can discuss. So if we look at the question again, like it is possible for me personally, I believe that yes, it is possible if we can answer all these, if we can somehow find a ways to face these challenges. Yes, we can integrate it successfully. And also this is also about the teacher education and teacher knowing about what is civic education. So so when we are talking about the content, what to teach in the civic education, so you can also like make a kind of the study, make a kind of the this is a United Nations question. So what types of citizenship or what type of civic education, the component or the content of the civic education around the world. So they take the studies of the ICCS and the IE study, and then this is what we found out that. So these are the countries and these are the content area. These are the numbers of the countries and the content area that put it in the civic education as a content. So like if you look at this, like understanding different culture and the ethnic groups, yes, of course, like our country like Myanmar, we have the different, very much diverse culture, and we have the diverse ethnic groups. These are the areas that we have to discuss and we have to like put in the content area. And the environment, of course, we have the environmental issue in Myanmar. So in the northern part in the Kachin state and in other parts of the Myanmar, we have the environmental issue. So why don't we put these things as a kind of content area? And if these content areas are becoming the unique content in some of the subject like English language or maybe in the Burmese, so we don't need to worry about the content. Okay, so this is about the global level. So here is the last part of my presentation. So I'm now giving the two digital platform is very useful, and and it is for the different level of the students. You can download it easily, and there are some of the activities are kind of ready-made activities, and these are how the those like educational organizations are, giving the digital civic toolkits, digital civic education. Particularly I'm using the digital tooling is related to the digital, because of the COVID times, it's not possible for everybody to be in person classroom. So digital platform and then using the digital toolkits are very much useful for our context, also for the context like in the COVID-19 period. So that's it. That's all for my presentation. And thank you so much for your time. And you have questions, and you are welcome. Sorry, maybe I'm talking too much.
Yeah, here's a question from John Lin So that how can I get access?
Access. Okay, so go John.
Those toolkits, yeah.
So you just need to click the link. This is I'm giving you the hyperlink.
Mm-hmm.
So hyperlink, and if you go through the hyperlink, you will directly get into their website. Even if like you don't have the kind of not currently, maybe if you are currently using the web, you can have the direct access to their website, or maybe you just like copy this and then put it in your browser, and then you can get the access to that. It's easy. I think I've already answered your question. Is it okay?
And Joe, there is a question from Nazia Ahmed, and he's asking that does the speaker believe that by giving civic education, the country having people belonging to different faith, political views can be harmonized?
If I say yes, it will be very much weird, because like education alone cannot bring what we wish for. So I think I would not definitely saying big yes to that, but I'm somehow have a positive, let's call me a kind of the optimistic. So I would say yes, but not in a very big yes. Because like I'm given the slides of the Myanmar civic education. Okay, so it is also about the, what kind of civic education we are looking for. We cannot use only type of civic education. So if you look into the, me and my research partner, we wrote a kind of the article about the microcosm of civic education in Myanmar context. So because civic education, under the civic education, many educational actors, provider deliver different types of civic education. So it is on the T-Cycle website, and then the name of the title of the article is microcosm in civic education. So we didn't say big yes for that. Yes.
But it's going to be a start anyway, right?
Yes, because we have to start it again after the 1962. So if you count the years, you could have the answer, I think, yes. Any more?
Thank you so much, Teacher Joe. And I think the first section we overrun a little bit, so I'm sorry that you got to kind of rush through, and we can't really spend too much time on the question and answer there. But there are nice, really lovely comments here as well. One, Neung Kai said, even sex education may be controversial for some societies, so teaching ethics and love is a good idea for everyone. So yeah,
yes. Thank you. And if you need the slides, you can directly contact me.